Have you ever seen
It
like a comedy
de-stresses, right?
porno?
It
A
de-stresses.
comedy porno?
No, I haven't seen a comedy porno.
There is, because there isn't any. You can't have
I was
comedy
going
in
to say,
porno.
does that exist?
No.
You're hanging out in the House of Sunny podcast, where it's always sunny, mostly because of your host, comedian and YouTuber, Sunny Lohman. Want to know what Sunny and her friends are thinking about this week? Well, here she is, Sunny Lohman.
Welcome to the House of Sunny podcast. Doug's giving me a funny look. Have you landed in the right place? You have. I'm here with Doug. A friend of mine told me that there's this thing out there, ASMR. And if I did an ASMR show, I would have like 1 million fans for life. So I looked up ASMR because I'm like, what the heck is that? Apparently people
I don't know.
whisper and they do things like this.
Oh God, it's awful.
And they go. And I'm like listening to this stuff and I'm going, who likes this? The whispering's kind of nice though. It's like makes me want to sleep.
You know, it's kind of provocative though. I think it's it captures your attention. Like if I start whispering, everyone's gonna listen to me.
Right? Yeah, I think
so. You gotta. It's like music where you need to be loud and soft, and you have different dynamics. Yeah, I like this.
Maybe we don't have enough of that in our lives.
Like if you listen to a song and it's the same volume and it's the same intensity, it's boring.
It's boring.
You gotta all of a sudden you get soft and then you get loud.
This is why I find Hannity really boring to listen to. Here's my Hannity impersonation. Ready?
Oh,
I just
talking
do that
point.
for 5 minutes.
Cut the guest off, come back to his own talking point.
So you guys, we're trying a new format today where we didn't prepare.
Not that you would probably notice.
That sounds terrible, but it's actually intentional. I know that sounds like something that we would maybe do because we didn't prepare, but actually Doug and I had a conversation after the last podcast and we thought, maybe it's a mix, right? But I think a lot of our most fun moments are when we're just kind of like shooting the shit and laughing. And I think people like that. And so we thought, well, we could do that. I mean, that's why actually, I don't know if you remember, Doug, so many years ago, we're like, we need to do a podcast because we would have these conversations that were so interesting to both of us. And really, you could tell it was like a wider interest. And Doug and I have known each other a long time, and we both like to kind of make jokes. And so we decided to do
Part of
this.
that's arrogance, though. Like,
Dude,
this is such a great conversation. This is such a great conversation.
Yeah.
We need to share this with the world.
Oh my God, everybody you know says
the world's
that.
missing out.
Everybody you know says that, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I have these great conversations with my friends. It should be a podcast. But so it's just
but it's different. It's hard to translate that.
Pure narcissism on our part. And this will probably be our least interesting show. So we're relying on you folks to let us know in the comments, oh my God, that sucked. Or more of that, or 50-50. And I'm sure we'll talk about politics here because Doug and I both just are news obsessed people.
We're political people.
Yeah. Well, it's more of that than that for me because I follow the culture news too. So I just like to know what's going on. And that includes culture. So
speaking of culture. So I have an overarching thought, but we'll get to that. Like, you sent me this anomaly video that guy did where he analyzed
the guy anomaly. That's his handle.
So the setup here is Ye did like a 3-hour podcast on the Drinking Champs show. And this anomaly guy said, this is the most important podcast of like the last
he said of all time. Of the last decade, that means ever. Because was there
That means
even a
ever.
podcast?
There was no
Yeah,
podcast
there
before
was
that.
no.
The podcasts from the 80s were way better, but so
Everything from the 80s was better.
the Top Gun podcast of the 80s, but but anyway, so I kind of listened to that guy, and I started listening to I can't listen to a 3-hour podcast. So I tried to get some of the highlights and stuff, but I mean, a lot of it was because this podcast got yanked from YouTube and canceled immediately. And there was all sorts of outrage even from Ben Shapiro and the usual suspects over at whatever that's called.
Daily Wire, Prager.
Daily Wire, Prager, that group. They were really upset about it because they characterized it as anti-Semitic. And I totally disagree with Shapiro and these people. Why can't we criticize Israel?
Don't say it.
Why can't we criticize?
Don't say it. Don't say it.
Why can't we criticize certain types of people?
Thank you.
Like
it's a fine line, don't you think? I was thinking about it too. Like, so I'm a middle-aged woman. I know there's a demographic there that's pretty odious. Like, we're called Karens and stuff, and it kind of offends me a little bit. I'm not a Karen, but I am definitely part of that
you are
group.
kind of a Karen.
A little bit. But
You're
do I
20%.
regard that as misogynist if people speak about my demographic in general terms? I actually do not. I think, well, it's true. Like, a lot of women in this age range are this way right now. They're Democrat voters. They're, I mean, you have to be honest about your demo. I don't fit in as much. I certainly have certain things in common, but I'm an individualist. I judge people that I meet one-on-one, but that doesn't mean that I don't talk about groups. And I feel like this is just a super hard thing to figure out. How do you, not for me, but for other people, because I am way better than most people. But how do you be an individualist and not be racist or misogynist or pigeonhole people? I mean, you can even, and Doug, you and I have talked about this before, you can group people by their profession and come up with certain characteristics.
Yes, groups
like
have
lawyers
identity.
have certain characteristics.
Yeah,
on
doctors,
average.
farmers, jocks, nerds.
Yeah. So it's not just your immutable things like your sex or which isn't immutable anymore, we've learned. But, it's not just your skin color, it's your chosen things too that put you in groups. And so groups do have identity in a way.
Yes.
And then, but you also have individuals that you encounter who are good or bad, or on a spectrum of good and bad. And sometimes it's personal preference. Like, I know a lot of people who really hate Midwesterners because they tend to be passive aggressive. People from New York, like, freaking can't stand going and living in a place like Minneapolis because people are so passive aggressive. But when you grow up there, you learn to read people. So you don't find that uncomfortable. I know exactly what people in the Midwest are thinking. They don't have to tell me. And I know the cultural customs, so I don't feel like I'm guessing about what they want me to do. I know exactly what they want me to do when they say, well, that means it's time to leave.
Bros.
They don't have to say it. I know what they mean. So I think, but what I'm just trying to say is, like, you can then meet a Midwesterner who isn't passive aggressive. It's not necessarily a bad thing to not be aggressive like a New Yorker. It's a personal preference thing sometimes. But there's no harm in thinking about people, to a starting point. Or you can make a criticism about Black culture and what's going on in that culture in terms of violence, and without saying everybody is bad, or even that some of those people are bad. There are some circumstances that are leading to this craziness within their culture.
But these other people don't have any hesitancy to generalize about white people.
Right.
or
But
other groups,
I don't
white
like
men
that
or white
excuse,
males.
because I would be against racism against whites too. And I'm against racism, but I'm not like Israel is a country. And the other thing is a race and a religion. So what are we talking about here? And I
Right.
think there's
Well, this is the
I
thing,
feel
that
the
part of what he
thing
was
that what
saying.
he's saying is like you can't say anything about certain groups without being called a really bad person, and it's
Well, Sonny,
caused the conversation not to be had.
I didn't know this, but Anomaly held up articles. One was Ron DeSantis,
Yeah.
who apparently passed some sort of law. And I didn't verify this, but he held it up and said this is from like the Tampa Bay Times or something, that there was a law that basically says if you characterize a Jewish person as being disloyal or more loyal to Israel than the United States, this is somehow like illegal or verboten or something. It was like had the force of law or something. And there was other types of regulations that he was showing. And so the gist of it is a lot of people criticize, like Jewish people for having sort of like dual loyalties. Like you're not a real loyal American because you're
Please do
loyal to
not
Israel
say
or
the
whatever.
words, because I'm serious. Our podcast is going to get taken down, and now I'm going to have to go through and bleep that.
Okay. So, right. We'll come up with different words.
Sandwich,
But
sandwiches.
yeah. So you can't
How
criticize
about
sandwiches.
pastrami sandwich? Would that be too?
Yeah. Right. No, corned beef.
Should we call
Corned beef on rye.
matzo balls?
But anyways, the whole thing, I thought that was crazy that DeSantis and what he was doing was he was showing the connectivity between donors, like major donors,
Major GOP donors.
major GOP donors like Sheldon Adelson, who donated $180
He's a big
million.
matzo ball. He's a big matzo ball.
Big matzo ball. And suddenly we're giving medals of freedom to his wife, and we're passing laws that says you can't criticize him. And so you have to realize there's like a real
It's a
thing
lobby.
here. There's
like
a
a pharma
lobby.
lobby.
It's huge.
Yeah.
It's very, very powerful.
You
And
know what bothers me? We just have certain things in this country that drive me nuts. I know a ton of immigrants, and several of my friends, for some reason recently, were getting their US citizenship, and all of them kept their other citizenship. So they're dual citizens. And honestly, if you're offered that choice, I would too. I wouldn't give up something, a privilege, voluntarily. Why do we even allow that? That's, to me, doesn't, you can be a resident here and be a citizen of another country, but why do we allow people to become voting citizens who are also voting citizens and originally from other countries whose obviously loyalties are going to be divided? And if you're a voting citizen, I feel that your loyalty should be 100% to this country. I find that a weird practice. I don't understand that. I don't think it's always been the case.
I'm not sure that dual citizens can vote. I think it depends on the state or anyways, but I agree. I think in principle, I don't really like it, but I understand it. The Sheldon guy was saying he regretted serving in the United States military as opposed to serving in the Israeli military. I mean, I just think that the general point was interesting, that people on the right were arguing with people on the right. This was like an inter-right battle. And the Shapiros of the world were showing, I think, the same sort of disposition politically and ethically towards anyone who criticizes his group, that he would turn around and oppose if the left did that to some group, right? Based on, the woke stuff. So it's a double standard. I think it was very hypocritical. I mean, Ben Shapiro was saying absolutely 100% what Ye said was anti-Semitic and everything else. And I don't agree at all. I mean, I think he was, we don't have to get into the why, but the point is that what he said, I don't think was. It was very arguable, and he was absolutely convinced that this was the worst thing ever, and he's a horrible person. And I'm sick of it. I'm just totally sick of that. I'm sick of this sensitivity. Like that's
Yeah.
bullshit. The matzo balls have a huge effect on our culture, on our politics. There's a big lobby. There's a country that we give a lot of aid to that has policies that affect our lives and affect our military and so on and so forth. And this is fair game. This is fair game to talk about, just like everything is fair game to talk about. So don't hide behind this. Don't criticize us bullshit. I'm tired of it.
Well, it's honestly the same thing we've been getting from Black people for 30 years now, you know? And that also drives me crazy because, you know, like Heather McDonald has done so well showing statistics of crime and stuff like that. I mean, that's something that needs to be addressed. And Candace Owens makes the point a lot that if Black lives matter, then we need to address these things that are going on within the community. Why is the crime so bad, you know?
Right.
So that Black communities can thrive. And the whole, if you really cared about those people, you would open up the dialogue and the conversation about it, but it's shut down by people who have a power agenda, I think. Anyway, which is exactly what happens with the matzo ball thing. There are people, I mean, that's the thing. Are we so stupid that we don't think there are good and bad people in every group and that there aren't some bad people in one group that are, you know, maybe trying to shut people up from criticizing them so they can get away with shit?
Of course.
So let's just be Americans and allow free speech. I remember thinking it's like okay to be racist in a way, in the sense that you live in America. If you're a racist, okay, you're a racist. Like it's not, people need to be who they are and what they think and be open to, you know, and let's just talk.
Yeah.
It's just so,
And if
it's
you think they're
gotten
wrong or you don't want to deal with them, don't deal with them.
right. 100%.
But, you know, I had a kind of an overarching thought about this. And this just is kind of a very general thought. I was having a conversation, like a business conversation this morning. It's like we have not lost knowledge of how to produce energy, to make computers, rocket ships. Like we have all the power and capacity to thrive as human beings. All we have to do is liberate the American spirit in this country and really throughout the world in terms of getting rid of this racial sensitivity, this ethnic sensitivity,
Yeah.
this
It causes
this
lying.
this
It causes a
imposition.
lot of lying and walking on eggshells, and it doesn't promote creativity and conversation.
And I mean, just as human beings, we have this power to have the greatest country in the world. I mean, even just like logistically, like right now, we have hundreds of millions of men throughout the world, women, you know, people that are geniuses, that want to produce, that want to work. We know how to live great lives and make even better lives. And it's like, yet we're all sitting here miserable. I've been miserable and just sort of exhausted by the culture and by the conversation and the culture, the types of conversations that go back and forth and the divisiveness. And it's like, maybe if we have a bit of a red wave here, it'll help get some adults back in the room.
Yeah.
And maybe restore some sensibility economically and, you know, just business wise is how, in terms of how these things are run. But
Yeah, it kind of feels like we're living in, like we have teenagers at home and we're in hell until they kind of grow up. And they're everywhere in our society running things. I saw this little clip of a man in the street video and this shaggy, messy kid's got holding a microphone up to another kind of shaggy, but like with super colorful brand new trainers in England. So obviously a bunch of rich kids, and he's like out at a university. And the guy says, farming's got to go. It's has the single most impact on like climate change. He just says that. And I'm going, oh my God. Like, think 5 minutes past your stupid point, idiot. Only a young, stupid, ignorant idiot could say something so profoundly. And like, imagine that policy is implemented and the death and destruction that would cause.
That is the
But
policy.
that is the policy. And
That
they're
is it.
teaching the kids that right. That's the policy that we're dealing with, is this teenager who can't think 5 minutes past his own freaking nose.
Like Greta Thunberg and
Yeah,
Justin
we're like
Trudeau
living
and
in a teenage world. That's what it feels like, where
No, it's
the
the world of
adults are just not there.
Well, here's the connection, Sonny, I think, is like when you talk to a child, and we've had this conversation before, but I think it's perfect example when like your kids go, hey, I want that toy. And you're like, no, that costs money. We'll just go to the bank and get the money. And they don't think, it's just like, there's a bank, you get the money, and they don't think past the consequence of, I want that toy. Well, how do you get the money? They don't think, no, I just want the toy, go get the money, just do it, they don't think of like the implications. Of course they wouldn't think of the implications of the wider implications of being spoiled as a child and just getting whatever you want immediately, and so not having to work for things, and all these things that we as a parent, you would stop and say, wait a second, money doesn't grow on trees. Dad's got to go to work and make money, and you got to explain that. And then you got to explain, if I just give you what you want immediately, you don't even know that you really want that toy. It's an impulse. Like in the immediate moment you want to, as soon as I buy you the toy, in 5 minutes, you're going to want some other toy that's even shinier and better. Like, go play in a box, go play with a cardboard box. So you have to be the parent, you have to be the adult and guide these like one-track thinkers. And this is exactly how the left thinks about everything. There's no money, just raise the wage. People aren't getting paid enough.
People will be paid more.
People will be paid
print more
more
money. Print more money.
Just print more money. Oh, there's people that don't have homes. Just build public housing. Just build houses.
Or give them homes with a big fat loan. Don't require a down payment.
Or kids want to go to college. We need educated people. Well, just give people education, make it free. People need health care. Make it people get sick.
Yeah.
Why not just pay for people, or hey, someone got shot with a gun. Ban guns. We just got to ban guns. That's it. Like, no wider implications to like self-defense, the Second Amendment, the history of self-defense and what it means in our country and our fight against tyranny, and weighing the self-defense aspects of a gun versus like the propensity of someone to like kill someone in public, whatever. Like, no, just ban guns. That's it. Don't you, Sonny, you hate the kids, you hate children, you want them to die. I mean, over and over and over again. This is everywhere. Like the mentality of children. And so it's like, but here we are, and we have this
with
enormous potential.
Yeah, it's such a weird, like, God, almost like
that's what's
you feel
frustrating.
like you're psychotic because you have this cell phone, this smartphone, and all this beautiful technology being developed. And now the development of the technology is starting to scare me because it's being used by these children. It's like giving nukes to teenagers, anyway. And as a result of our stress, we're going to do some ASMR de-stressing.
Yes.
So you and I traded meditations this week, and
yes,
I was listening to the one you sent me, and it was so good. It was like calming. And then the guy says, now think of what makes you anxious. I was like, wait a second. I started thinking about what was making me upset. And I started getting upset and I started like, there go the wheels. And I thought, okay, that wasn't a good one for me. But then I thought, I'm going to record my own meditation for myself. I'm going to make a customized meditation for myself.
Oh, I could not do this.
And I was thinking, what would it say?
It's a terrible idea.
It's a terrible idea. You couldn't relax yourself. You'd
No,
be
because
like,
I couldn't listen to myself.
you'd
I'd
be
be
like-
like, I can't believe this is
you'd
so
be like,
stupid.
hey, Doug. Hey, Doug. You're
The
good enough.
whole reason I need meditation is because my mind is talking to myself all the
Yes, and
time.
so
I'm not
you-
going to
you
listen
need-
to myself again.
You need your mind to tell you something different.
No.
You need your mind to tell you that you're good enough. You're smart enough.
And damn it,
You're smart enough for something.
people like you.
Any low IQ freak can work at Walmart. So don't worry about it. And gosh darn it, somebody likes you.
What?
Your mother likes you.
Mm,
If she doesn't, she's a bad mom. So F her. That's
my
what the
mother asked
meditation
me
would
this
say.
morning.
F your mother. She doesn't know what she's talking about. Let that go. Shed your mother issues.
We should exchange meditations. Like I'll record one for
You record
and
one
you
for me.
record-
Okay, I'll do
But
that.
it would be too. I couldn't do it seriously. Like, could you
Well,
seriously listen to me?
So yes, and I mean maybe it's good to like laugh too when you're trying to meditate. I mean, why wouldn't you put
No.
a joke in there? Sonny,
I don't-
listen to this one.
I
Two
think
guys walk into a bar. The bartender
See-
says, "We don't serve two guys." And the two guys say, I'm
Oh, I
drawing a
thought you
blank.
had a punchline.
No, I'm
Oh,
making this up.
You're making a joke. Great.
I'm making this up
Good
on the
job.
fly.
Well
I'm trying to do
done.
improv here, but I'm out
What I-
of practice.
See, I think laughing during meditation is the same as like laughing during sex. It doesn't go together. Like, have you ever seen
It
like a comedy
de-stresses, right?
porno?
It de-stresses.
comedy porno?
No, I haven't seen a comedy porno.
There, because there isn't any. You can't have
I was
comedy
going
in
to say,
porno.
does that exist?
No, just like
Okay.
meditation. Do you have like jokey meditations?
I've never heard that,
Like
but
it's-
maybe we could start it.
That's a
And
great idea.
I wonder if I could sell these. You people listening, would you pay for me to record you a personalized? Oh,
Deep
you know what?
breathing.
I'm going to get all the freaks, and they're going to want the ASMR.
Oh. That's a 1-900 number situation.
Right. I think
could
that a
sell
lot of
that.
people find that sexual, but then there's this whole thing where it's not sexual. It's actually people use it to it makes their brain tingly or something, I guess. I find it annoying, a lot of it, but it can be noises that are nice too. Look at this
It's like
one.
it's like the dirty talk thing though. I never got into this dirty talk idea. Are
My
you
f-
into that? I shouldn't ask you that.
I'm not going to talk about that.
Dirty talk?
Hey, everybody, do
Never
not
got
write
into
in and say, I want a dirty talk ASMR. It's not happening. And this friend that sent me this and said, oh, you should do this because you'd have fans forever. I'm like, I don't know if I want those fans. But let me just share this. And then like right after that,
There's a lot
found
of ways for
this.
women to get fans, by the way. If you just
I
want
know,
fans,
I know, right?
it's very easy. Very simple.
Then I was on Facebook and I found this and I was like, this is my kind of ASMR. Watch this.
Ooh.
For those of you just listening on audio, this is dogs eating cabbage. Oh, now they're eating green peppers.
Wait, dogs eat lettuce?
I didn't know about that actually. And right after this, I gave my dog a pepper to see if he'd eat it. He didn't eat it. So I don't know.
I've never seen a dog eat vegetables at all.
My dog will eat vegetables in his food, but like if I just handed him a hunk of cabbage, I don't think he'd eat that. Anyway,
That was sad. That was oddly satisfying. I could listen to that.
isn't it that crunching? There's something about that that's nice.
Oh, I have one for you. Do you have a dog, right?
Yeah.
Have you tried the YouTube dog videos that you play for dogs?
No.
Try. Okay, this is what you're gonna do. You're gonna go to YouTube and you're gonna search
Right
dog.
now, you want me to do this?
Well, you can, yeah.
Okay.
I admit I have to have a confession.
What do you
so
search? What do you search?
Videos for dogs.
Use for do you
My
have-
dog watches these, and it'll be
Oh.
like a bird, and it'll just be like a bird eating seeds or squirrels, and
Okay.
it's super relaxing.
Is it relaxing to
I'll just
humans? It's relaxing to
and my
humans.
I'll watch my dog watching it. Yes, and
Let
we'll
me
just sit
share
and
this
watch
screen. I'm going to
squirrels.
share it right now. Let's see what Doug has found for us.
There's also
Sick of
Oh, we
politicians
got an
bowing
ad.
to the
We
gun
got
law.
an ad.
And my opponent, he rejects common sense gun
the
Are you
safety
getting-
laws.
the
I
stress,
fight to
Dude.
the
prevent
political
gun violence
so
and
many of
save
these
lives.
political
Because when
ads
it's
are
about our
killing me.
kids' safety, cowardice doesn't cut it.
And I can't stop it
right.
either. They've paid
You
for the
can't.
non-stoppable.
Here it is.
Okay, here we go.
Okay, everybody, breathe deeply.
Take
here,
3 deep
Sonny.
breaths. Inhale. Exhale.
Now, do you hear those noises? My dog instantly tunes into that noise. Now they'll come and they'll watch this. And they'll start licking the screen.
What? The dog will lick the screen?
Yeah, he thinks there's a real bird there. I've never seen a dog do this, but
Oh, I just heard a flitter of a wing. They've got a really high, like sensitive mic. Oh my gosh.
isn't this great?
Here.
Bring him to the screen. Will he watch it?
Wow. I don't know what he's barking at now. Isn't that
See?
funny?
He's watching it.
Oh my God.
So now I want you to do this. You can, like, when you leave, you can leave this on for him and he'll watch it all day. He heard the birds.
He did. He did. He heard the birds. Okay. So I have kind of a funny, I wrote down something that has to be a stand-up joke for the future.
Okay.
So the reason that Doug and I traded meditations, everybody, is that I'm in physical recovery here. I think I'm doing well with my health, but I'm trying to get off of steroids, and steroids give your adrenal function. And so as you're tapering, especially I've been on them so long, I don't have the adrenal hormones to deal with stress. So I'm trying to boost my hormones by de-stressing and doing different de-stressing activities. So, oh my God, this is stressful. Hang on.
Put the birds on.
I just had to yell at him. This
Put
is
the
my
birds
life.
on.
If I had some food, I could just give him food. Anyway, so I made a list of the things that I could do to de-stress. And that on that list were things like walking and drawing and doing this meditation and strangling my dog and knitting. Actually, I started crocheting, which is like what people who are recovering from alcoholism do, but I'm doing it. And so I made this list. And then the other day I was on this walk, one of my walks, de-stressing. And this is who I am. I started thinking, I should assign each one of these things a point system. And I should make it so that I have to do 5 points per day, minimum. And how many points would walking be? And how many points would meditating be? And how many points would
Dude.
that's what I was thinking on my walk. And so I have like 30 seconds of that thinking. And then I go, I start laughing.
The birds.
I start laughing because I'm like, who does that? Who takes their de-stress list and makes it stressful? I do.
Stressed out people.
Oh,
That's who
my
do
God.
that shit all the
Yes.
time.
I have to just change the way.
You're the anti-California. How can you be living there?
Maybe that's
is
why I
anyone
live
in
here.
California?
And maybe that's why I live here. I not only live in California, I live in a beach town where everybody is super laid back. I mean, this is California it's actually pretty Democrat in my town because Laguna Beach is kind of artsy. It's got this huge artist community. So it has this left lean that a lot of Orange County doesn't have. And even so, during the pandemic, nobody wore a mask. This is so it's the
Love
vibe,
that.
man. Surfers don't wear masks. Are you kidding me?
Do you think the surfers have point systems for like ranking like their activities during the day? Like they get 3 points for certain waves and 7 points, and then they at the end of the day they
It's not a
tally
good
up their
day unless I
score.
have 5 surfer points. Can you believe I did
Wow.
that? And
Yeah, I
that
can.
is a joke. I mean, right there, that's a joke because it's so funny to be that kind of person, that type A driver
Mm-hmm.
who has to like, because what that will end up leading to is that day that I don't do 5 points, I'm like hard
Stressed
on
out.
myself for not having done the bare minimum relaxation.
I
That
have
is
a
so
friend.
messed up.
You know what though? Here's the thing: is this is like one of Height's points that it's not like you're political. You have a certain political ideology, and then you have a psychology. I think you have a psychology that attracts you to a certain political ideology, because I know other conservative, libertarian, let's call it, Republicanish type women, and they're all kind of like this. They're all taskmasters. It's like, get it done. Like, what are you doing? How productive are you
Yeah.
being? They're like really organized and like, and then the Democrat women are just, they're a effing
Liberty
mess.
gibbets. Yeah. They're
And
more comfortable with chaos. And yeah.
just let it happen, man. Like whatever, promiscuity. You can see how
But again, we were just
if you're
talking about how
wired a
it's
certain way.
people who don't think beyond, 2 minutes is
Mhm.
that kind of person
That person.
versus a person who can project. And actually, that is one of my greatest gifts. I feel like people are nuts that they don't see what I see. And I've started to like learn that there's something in my ability to
Mm-mm.
project into the future and predict. I just had a tweet this morning where
Yeah.
some guy was arrested for putting on a dress and raping a woman, going into a woman's safe space and raping her, and he was arrested. And
That's illegal.
I wrote
in California?
sarcastically, it wasn't even in California, but it was just a news item. And once again, I don't need to know news outside of my local community. I wish I didn't know any news from anywhere
Right.
outside of my local community
Don't
because
need
it
it.
shouldn't matter. And I shouldn't need to know about every freaking rape in the nation. But anyway, that
You should
happened.
get a rape alert, a rape siren. Every rape in America should
It would
set up
just
a
be
siren
going
in your
off.
house.
It would just be, yeah, we won't be stressed out if we have the rape siren going off just going off continuously. Rape. So
Injustice.
I go, years ago, I said that allowing men into women's bathrooms was going to lead to perverts taking advantage of that rule and actually hurting women. Because now women aren't allowed to, like, we have this sixth sense, I mean, everybody does. You walk into a bathroom, there's a weirdo dude. You get that sixth sense of this dude is weird. And you then complain and say there's a person, or you come in and there's a real trans person in there who you don't get that stomach feeling about. You don't feel like this is a predator. You don't have that sense. And you just let them use your bathroom because it doesn't matter to you because you don't feel threatened. Every woman has these instincts, and it's important that we listen to them. And so I was very concerned that when women can't go to the manager and say, there's a guy in my bathroom, and nothing can be done about it, it's going to lead to harm to women and children and girls. And so I sarcastically write, well, I didn't see that one coming. Duh.
Yeah.
And I remember at the time saying that to people who were my friends, guys, and they're like, they didn't get it. They didn't
What?
understand.
It
They-
seems so obvious to us.
It
doesn't
seems
it?
really, really obvious. And there were a
If you
couple
let men into
guys-
women's bathrooms, there's going to be problems.
Yeah.
Pat on the back to us for
But
saying
I mean, I'm talking about smart people.
this.
There was just something
I know.
about their inability to project that predator men would put on a dress to purposely gain access to a woman's space and to harm them. I don't know.
Well, this is the curse and blessing because we can project the implications of government policies or some of the stuff we were talking about, like gun laws or whatever, that we're constantly in a state of stress
Yeah, it's
because we're
stressful.
constantly projecting the future forward, saying this could be bad, this could be
Yeah.
bad, and we don't tend to say, well, this could also be good. But
Like my latest
the dummy
bugaboo-
liberals,
My latest bugaboo is
can't.
nuclear war.
That's a bugaboo.
That's a bugaboo.
That's a huge bugaboo. But the left
Yeah.
has the dummy left, their ignorance is bliss because what? Women going to bathrooms, rape? What? They're not projecting forward and seeing the implications of all this stuff. They just, well, someone needs healthcare. Why can't you just see that you should give someone healthcare? That's where their mind stops. So they're always happy. And I think and that's another reason why they hate conservatives so much, because they think only someone who's mean and mean-spirited wouldn't just be for free healthcare. Why aren't you just for free health? Don't you want people to be healthy?
Yeah.
Like that's the level of their mind. So I think they tend to probably be on a minute to minute basis, like not
How do you
not all
not
hyped up.
I mean, it's not even hour to hour, it's minute to minute. Because how do you not project that
anything.
if you anyway, God.
Well, these are the same people that they don't know what they want to be. They go to college. Blah, 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 blah,
Do you think
people
some of
through
this
stuff.
is a result of the whole like the feminism, the feminization of men and the testosterone? Like I mean, I was watching did you see that guy Bubba, that race driver, like poured water on one of the race car guys and like got out of his car and assaulted the other race car driver? Did you see that?
No, I didn't see it.
So
But I
you know
can
that
imagine
guy
it.
who was like, there's a noose in my garage, and turned out it was just
Yeah.
literally just a regular rope. And he felt that someone was, I mean, that's an example of a person who sees
Nooses everywhere.
nooses everywhere. I'm wearing hoop earrings. Are they nooses?
My God.
Anyway,
Triggered.
so there was a little, I don't know the full story, but it sounds like maybe he got annoyed with someone and actually bumped the car, and then they
Yeah.
both crashed. And
That
then he
happens a
got
lot,
out of
yeah.
his car and assaulted the other driver.
That's kind of awesome.
But what did the other driver do? Oh,
Did he really?
why the hell did he
Seriously?
punch the guy out? And then you see him going over with a water bottle and squirting water on some other guy or the same guy later or before. He actually
Squirting water?
took a water bottle and poured water on another racer. And that guy was sitting down. I think he was injured. I don't know, but he didn't, like, what sort of man takes that and doesn't get up? This is a race car driver.
A millennial.
And he doesn't
Millennial.
get up and punch that fucker in the face. I'm sorry to use the F word,
Yeah.
but I was like, where's the manliness? I can tell you, my husband would not sit there and let someone pour water on him.
No, absolutely. Like that is a sign of the times. I think that's very much millennial. They've been taught, because I even see this with my kids, because I remember telling my son a few years ago, young man, like someone, I don't, the typical boy stuff, someone's picking on someone. I go, tell him you're going to kick his ass. And he's like, Dad, do you want me to get expelled? Oh my God. You
Yes.
can't say stuff like that
Get
in school.
expelled.
And I'm like, I go, look, I'm given you got to defend yourself. I don't
Yeah.
want him to beat someone up, I guess, but I'm like, look, if someone's,
You have
gotta
to talk.
be-
You gotta be. You gotta
be
talk
tough,
tough. Yeah.
that kind of a thing, but that kind of thinking, like when I was a kid, and I know this still happens, of course, and there's actually insane levels of violence in some of these communities that we didn't have when we were like Fast Times at Ridgemont High type stuff going on. But
Yeah.
like, weren't there were fights in the school all the time? Like boys
Yeah,
would
all
just
the
fight.
time.
That's what would happen. And it's like, oh, there's gonna be a fight at 3:00, kind of like a high noon kind of thing. And
Yes.
like everyone
I'll
would
see
go
you
around
after
and
school. I got threatened a bunch of times. I'll see you after school. I was
Yeah.
constantly threatened
after school.
to be seen after school. And there was
Showdown.
only one time that I believed it. And I had a teacher walk me to the school bus because I was terrified of that girl.
Yeah.
She was an American Indian. Hang on.
But people,
My dog is driving me nuts lately. I don't know why, but he's just gotten super barky.
Mhm.
All right. Anyway.
Well, yeah, but no, you're right, though. I think it's definitely a millennial thing. I see this a lot. I mean, I just see this. I mean, some of it, is it positive, though? Like, I see a lot of kids, like, I just observe my kids and how they interact with their friends and stuff. They seem to be a lot nicer to each other.
Oh, really?
Just, yeah. I mean, there is something to be said for this
I am
generation. I
not
think
seeing
they're
that. For my
Really?
daughter's age.
really
I'm
okay.
seeing the girls at a very young age. They're bullies. Girl bullies are tough to, maybe it's different for boys
Boy,
right now,
girl, yeah.
but girls are so nasty. Their fight is socially ostracizing other girls. And so, they're still doing that. And in fact, it seems way worse than when I was young. I went through it, but like when I was older, I went through it. And it's happening a lot younger with my daughter.
Did you fight the school? Did you ever figure out your school?
What do you mean? What part?
SEL.
So
I have a friend who's fighting DEI and Montessori. That's going everywhere.
yeah. So I did win the CRT gender ideology battle. I asked them point blank if they were doing that, what their policy was. And they at first gave me a lot of the BS about inclusion and diversity and kindness. And I just kept pushing. And I was prepared to pull Lucia out because I am not going to allow my daughter to ever be brainwashed that her skin color is somehow evil,
A mark of guilt and shame.
or for a second that she can pick her freaking gender. Not happening, not for a second. And so I was ready to pull Lucia out, and have her run in the field next door and learn whatever lessons she can from that.
Run in the fields.
So I pushed and pushed, and this is a private school, and so eventually they gave me a point blank, no, we're not going to teach this. This is up to parents. This is personal, and we're not teaching any of that. And
Good.
I think what happened was they did not have a policy. And it's my question that ended up making them make a policy. However, they are doing the SEL, and we should do an episode on SEL because it's really complicated, but it's basically daily therapy for these children. And I'm concerned about it. We'll do a whole episode on it because it's an interesting topic. It's everywhere, but it is being used to smuggle in the CRT and the GI, the gender ideology stuff, but not, it can also just be, literally can just be used as over therapizing the children and not really bringing in any of this other really dark stuff. Not that that's good, but at least it's not, I don't think it's as bad, It's not quite as toxic, although it trains these kids to be very navel gazing and overly aware of their emotions. I do have an anecdote about that if you want to hear it. I don't know how interesting it is, and maybe we should save it. Let's save it for the show.
Well, what I was going to say is, like, if you're a parent, this is one thing I've learned about this, which is if there's always one leftist troll at every school, some awful mom who's deciding like she's going to be a DEI warrior or something like that. She's going to bring it to the school. And I think all you need to do as a parent is show up and tell the school that you're completely opposed to it in no uncertain terms. And what that does is it gives the school, let's say the school is inclined to not want to do this.
Yes.
If they have a couple of parents who say, hey, we don't want this, we're going to pull our kids out, they can then at least have some basis for when a parent comes in and says they want it, to say, well, you know what, this is controversial. There's other parents that don't want to do it. Our policies, we're just not going to do it. It's, but if you don't say anything and the leftist troll pushes it, they might just say, you know what, we got to do this. No one's
getting
opposing
pressure, right? You have to make yourself heard. I had a friend who was another parent who was similar politically to me. And so we would talk about these issues, and she left and put her kids in a different school. So I no longer have like an ally, but I've been thinking recently, we have all the mothers of the kids in my daughter's grade are on a text thread. And I've been thinking about going in there and saying, hey, any other conservative moms that want to like talk about stuff, let me know. Because I bet half are.
Yep.
I bet half are. And then we could do a private thread. And then you can have sort of a collective voice, which I think is more powerful.
So true.
Yeah.
100%.
But even
That's
my
how you do it.
I sent an email. I didn't even say, here's my position and blah, 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 and I'm against it. I said, what is your policy? And what, if anything, has communicated to the teachers? 2 sentences. And that got all this. They had no idea what I thought about it yet, but I think they could guess. I didn't have to tell them I'm against it. The eventual answer was no, it's not. We're not going to do this because it's up to the parents to do that.
What's your policy? Because I really want it. You could have pulled the switcheroo on them. So, because they don't know, they might be like, I think this woman really wants it.
Yeah.
What should we tell her?
Yeah.
So
I just
they
asked
totally
them that I was going to wait and hear their policy and then respond to that. If it was, I feel that it's important to push them to be open and transparent. That's like number 1 is tell me what you're going to be doing. And then I will act accordingly. But you can't hide it. You can't do this stuff and act like you're not. So, and it may be that my daughter's teacher was planning to do this stuff because she's she's so woke.
Breathe.
She's woke. She's really nice and well-meaning, but she's just one of these kind of dummies. I'm sorry. I hope she's not listening. I'm sure she's not. But she's young and doesn't understand that she's brainwashing kids. So anyway, I've got some work to do on SEL with her, but I have to get my ducks in a row more on that one. We should definitely do a show on that. It's an interesting topic. It's in every school. I mean, every school. There's not a school left that isn't doing some version of SEL. And it was such a hugely funded, huge push funded by Bill Gates and Mark Zuckerberg. And they have pushed
shocking.
it. And the head person in DC who's running that, who works in the Biden administration, she's the touch point, or the national leader of this kind of movement.
Jesus.
Is she's a admitted communist. So it sounds crazy when you say stuff like this, but it's, oh my God, this is a literal communist plan being pushed down and out with funding from 2 billionaires to our children. And
If I
let's
had
say
said
they're
5
all
years ago,
well-meaning.
yeah.
I don't care. We think 2 minutes past this well-meaningness, and I can see that it will damage her if she's subject to this year over year over year. So I don't know that I have many options, especially, with some of the mandates coming up with certain drugs. In
By the way,
California, they've mandated certain drugs, but they've delayed it to January, and they might delay it again. But the CDC is about to make a certain decision about a certain drug mandated for children, or highly, highly recommended for children, so that everybody picks it up as the usual thing. And then they use the licensing boards to put pressure on the physicians to do what the CDC says. And then people can sue you if you don't do what the CDC says and a child is harmed. Now you're really in trouble.
Yeah, I saw a thread about that manufacturers are set because now they have the CDC approval, so they can make money off by giving it to kids and
I'm
putting it
trying
as
not
part
to
of the
use these
basic
words
schedule.
because I
I
have 2
forgot.
strikes.
And so they're and they have no liability. Once they get on that schedule, you can't sue them
Yeah.
if something goes wrong with your kid.
That whole thing has to stop. Anyway, we all know what's going on now at that level and why it's so corrupt. Hey, did you see there's Robert F. Kennedy Jr. who wrote The Real Anthony Fauci? He has a movie coming. Actually, it's out, of the same name. And I think for the next 9 days you can watch it free, I heard. So everybody should look into that, because I think
I've heard about this coming out. And I've also, I guess Candace came out with a documentary on BLM.
On
I saw some
BLM,
clips from
that's
it.
out too. Yeah, I think. Do you have to be a member of Daily Wire to watch that? You
I don't know.
might. It's
Be a
like
member.
the Matt Walsh
Do I have
video.
to pay for this?
Matt Walsh, What is a Woman, came out, and you had to get it through your Daily Wire membership. I resist this. Here's why I resist this. Because Ben Shapiro is a matzo ball. Just kidding. So seriously though, I don't like him. I really don't like Ben Shapiro, and I know that he's the head and he's running that organization and profiting off of he's doing good work through some of the people that work for him. Jordan Peterson, Candace Owens, Matt Walsh. I really like them, but I can't stand Ben Shapiro for 2 reasons. Number one, he has a very annoying personality, but which in itself, who has a really annoying personality and is similarly a matzo ball? Not that I'm saying matzo balls have annoying personalities, but Stephen Miller, the speechwriter for Trump, I love that guy. But he has one of the most irritating and annoying personalities. I don't know if he's Asperger's or what.
Yeah.
But Ben Shapiro is such a twerp. I just don't like him. He's like one of those know-it-all nerds that drive you nuts. You just want to smack him. But what really bothers me about him is that he contributed big time to canceling Michelle Malcolm when she refused to condemn what's that guy's name, for similar reasons.
Yeah.
What the hell is that guy's name? That young kid who has that huge following and it's super fringe and
yeah. The alt-right guy.
Nick Fuentes.
Yeah.
And apparently he's an anti-Semitic.
Right.
And I never saw anything that he said. I mean, I haven't looked into it, but apparently I'm told I'm not allowed to listen to him because he's an anti-Semitic, and I'm not allowed to like his tweets or follow him or like him. Michelle Malcolm is like, he's fine. And then Ben Shapiro went after her, and she's a hero,
Yes. Yep.
And
yeah.
So
I don't want my tax money going to fund Israeli weapons. Canceled. That's what he's against. You can't say that.
Yeah.
According to him. That's anti-Semitism.
So I don't like him for his knee-jerk hatred or condemnations of people who I think are very heroic. And I would never, there's no way Michelle Malcolm is a racist. I've seen
Yeah.
enough of her to know she is not a racist, and she doesn't deserve to be canceled. So anyway, I just, that's why I have yet to subscribe to the Daily Wire.
I hear you.
I don't want to do it.
I think you can be nuanced about it. Like I like what he's doing. I like the Daily Wire. I think he's done generally great work, but this issue is a big problem, and he needs to get his head out of his ass and stop being so sensitive and fragile when people criticize him.
Do you understand though this on some level? Because I mean, there aren't that many groups of people who have been subjected to a deliberate, focused genocide because of their race. I mean,
Anomaly talked about that Michael, was it Mann, the guy that from the Weather Underground?
Yeah.
That was like the big, huge influence on the BLM two lores.
Yeah.
This guy in that interview he played, the guy was saying like, I woke up every day, in like a Jewish socialist household, and it was like, people are trying to kill you. You got to kill them first. Like that was his whole upbringing, and his whole mindset of his whole family was, people are trying to kill us. We got to get them first, And so, no, I understand where it comes from. But it doesn't make it right. And it's a double standard. And I think it's hypocritical. And I think you have to be nuanced enough to know when someone is truly like anti-Semitic in the racist sense, and when someone's critical of a group or a culture or an ideology, or a political program or political actions that are taken by certain countries. It's not all the same thing. And I think that's horribly misguided. And wrong. And it's detrimental, because I don't think it gets us to the truth. I mean, there's a lot of problems that come from this area, and it needs to be argued and debated.
I just think free speech
Not
works.
canceled.
It just works.
Yes.
I really believe in it in terms of actually keeping peace and harmony amongst different groups. If you can talk about it, if you can joke about each other, there's nothing I like more than an ethnic joke. Even if it's an anti-white ethnic joke. I don't know why. I find them so funny. I just find ethnic jokes hilarious. Oh my God.
Yeah. Well,
my dog.
What-
Next time he's going in the crate.
yeah, I don't like this dog. Well, why do we have an adversarial
What?
system?
You don't like my dog?
I don't like your dog. Why do you cross-examine a witness? Like if according to the left, like once an expert decides that you're guilty, you're guilty. Like, why should you be able to ask questions, cross-examine, bring in other kinds of evidence? This is like literally the attitude of people that want to shut other people down or stop other people from talking. It's like,
well, and again,
nope,
it creates
I've decided.
Like you said, it creates an uncreative, tense, uninnovative environment. And I know that it seems like, well, how does being an open racist allow you to be innovative? But it's not just that. I mean, the whole culture of there are certain things that are not allowed to be said, period. If anyone's ever worked in corporate America, you know how stifling that it is in corporate America. I'm sure it's worse in the universities. It's probably worse today than when I was in corporate America. But back then, it was really hard to criticize anybody because everybody was walking on eggshells around everybody. Bad workers, you couldn't call them out. You couldn't be honest. It was just very strange. Everything required all of this like double speak all the time. And culturally that has led to where we are today, where we're fine if people are canceled off of social media, and Alex Jones is fined $1 billion for saying something that wasn't true, that people didn't like. So dangerous times. Anyway, should we end the podcast on some ASMR? Let's see.
Yes. Wonderful.
I probably need a better mic to pick up this stuff.
Oh, I heard it.
So if I put this in the title, I'm hoping for 1,000 new fans minimum.
Hell yeah.
The other thing is, by next week, you guys, I'm going to open a Rumble because I just got my second strike. Actually, it's my third strike. And it's also, again, an older show. The first 2 strikes I got were medical misinformation. The most recent strike, I had to laugh because it was like inciting violence. You and me. And apparently,
Really?
yeah. And apparently it's one of our podcasts.
Let me look out the window to see if there's a riot going on. Right. Your dog was incited.
I'm
I
going
think
to
we
have
incited
to,
your dog to riot.
they don't tell you specifically what you said. They just say, this is the video. And it's like an hour and a half of us talking. So I'm going to have to listen to it to see if I can figure out what we said. Probably we said something against the trans, I'm guessing, was like, we probably, that's
Incited a riot.
so
Wow.
we have incited violence according to YouTube. Now that means I have 3 strikes. 1 has expired. So I have 2 recent strikes. I have a whole year before those are off. And what are the odds they're going to find another strike on my channel over the next year? Like, it's probably 100%.
AI never stops working.
It's probably, well, they keep adding stuff to it, and then it sweeps back and it pulls stuff. And like, they haven't found my blackface video yet.
Well, Ye is
that
buying
alone
Parlor.
should get me taken off, right?
We got to go to Rumble, Parlor, and if Musk buys Twitter, we'll just be on Twitter because Ye's buying Parlor, right? So
I guess.
let's just go. Let's just leave. I'm tired of it. We got a free ball, man. We're free balling today. We got to
kick me off, and I'm going to try not to get kicked off because I don't think like ceding ground is the right response. I've never wanted to leave these social media companies because of their behavior. Additionally, my Facebook page is really getting throttled hugely right now. Yep. You can tell that this is all midterm related. So I figure if we can make it through the midterms with a YouTube channel intact, that will be good enough until the next election, and then it will start all over again. So
yeah, we got to just vote. If we support Democrats, I bet you'd get like 10 million views if we're like vociferously in favor of the Democrats.
You think so? Maybe that's the format that we should do.
I love Fetterman, the guy, the cognitively impaired guy in Pennsylvania.
I like my politicians cognitively impaired.
Oh, don't you? He had a stroke. He's got a big lump in his neck.
That would make
that guy.
At least 2 really high profile politicians who can't speak or talk, or think.
Yeah. And 2,
I feel like it's a good trend. Forces.
It's like the Wonder Twins.
It's a good trend.
Yeah. I love him. Great guy.
I especially love his fashion. Those boxy t-shirts and shorts that he wears with pulled up black socks and tennis shoes. I mean, that is forward thinking.
He's an influencer. That's right. He's so ahead of the game. Yeah, let's do this. I think we can get up to 1 million views.
If
we sponsor Democrats.
We could be like Dominique in The Fountainhead, where we do a leftist show, only we do it in such a way that they can't tell that we're actually mocking them.
Yeah.
I think we could do it. Should we do that? That would be a fun future show to try. So, hey, everybody out there listening, before we sign off, you have to let us know what you think of this rambling, chatty podcast versus our never smooth, but attempted slick and smooth podcast with more prep.
Our 4% more
prep. I think we noticed, my biggest thing that I noticed watching them back is that a lot of times I'm thinking about, okay, I got to segue what the next story is, or I got to get this out or make this point. And Doug would make a joke and I wouldn't even hear it or respond to it because I was distracted. And it kind of isn't the same as having a fun phone conversation where we're talking about serious stuff, but also laughing. So we thought we'd try this. Let us know what you think. We didn't, the only like downside is that I don't have prepared royal reports or objectivist reports.
Well, we can do both. I think it could be free flow plus a few reports,
Few reports.
a
yeah.
few prep things.
We can end on a royal report, should we?
Hurry up.
Now it's time for the House of Sunny's Royal Watch.
This is a fast one.
Fast.
Meghan Markle on her podcast recently talked about her, she was a deal, no deal girl, which means she had it's a game show and she wore a skimpy dress and she had a suitcase and there were 10
she was one of the suitcase ladies?
Yes, you didn't know
On
that?
Deal or No.
Yes.
Wow.
So to get that job, you have to be pretty and probably personable and because people have it. There's something
Show
people
the
don't
case.
necessarily understand that when you're on TV, that doesn't always, some people are very flat on TV and there has to be a certain ability to jump off the screen or be comfortable on camera. I think it's a comfort.
Yeah.
A comfort on camera. And some people get so self-conscious and tense that they get kind of flat.
Other people are more relaxed.
So she had to be outgoing and pretty and have a nice body and be attractive, but also able to laugh at Howie Mandel's jokes and have a good sense of humor. I mean, there was some interaction there, right? So how many women in Hollywood would kill for that job, right? And she came.
Oh, such a cat fight.
She got that job. She nailed it. But now she feels like she was victimized.
Come on.
Victimized.
She was not.
Because she was treated like a bimbo by that show.
She applied for a job holding a suitcase on a television game show, and she feels
with her
victimized.
boobs hanging out. And
because
that victimized
they
her.
hired her because of her degree,
her
her
STEM degree at Northwestern University and her charity work. Doug, you're forgetting about her charity work.
They forgot about
which
her
is
neurological
so extensive
research.
and so amazing, and she's just she's been a lifelong world fixer, and that was not taken into account at all. They only looked at her body, and so that was an oppressive victimization experience.
Poor
Can
thing.
you believe her?
Here's an idea for a show. HBO or someone should do this show. The show would be about the backstage of the chicks with the suitcases and the politics and the cat fights.
Yeah. Imagine
maybe a reality show.
Yeah.
Oh, just
one girl's got a
them
knife
backstage.
in her suitcase. I'm gonna something. She's doing something wicked and mean. Yeah, I bet it was quite a cat fight behind the scenes.
Think of the jackals. The jackals backstage
if
just
you
wanting
think
to kill each
Housewives of Beverly Hills is bad.
other.
Imagine the girls of the Deal or No Deal suitcase.
Oh,
Whoa. Yeah.
God, this would be great. What a great idea.
It would be great. I wouldn't watch it, but somebody would.
Oh, God, are you kidding me? I love this. Anyways, all right.
All
well,
right, that's it for
is that
today's
it?
show. That's it for today's show. Join us next week for something. Who knows? We'll see. All right, everybody, have a good week.
Thanks, everyone.
There is a house called the House of Sunny. It's filled with satire and fun. It's been the demise of bad ideas, and we'll know what's right when she's done. So download this free perspectives you may lack. It's concise and right and achieves world peace. Guaranteed all your money back. Last time, ready?